It's our talk about it this morning. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Way, yeah, you can hear us. Okay, excellent.
Great.
Oh, cool. There's two of you.
Now we need to get rid of.
Great. And we're broadcasting too, so we got it recorded.
Okay, great. So everybody can see you. You're on a projector now in our room, and we'll turn around the computer at some point so you can see everybody. Let's see if we can do it now. It's a little bit scary.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Oh my God. Okay.
Great.
Oh my goodness. I have to turn off the mic now. Now we need to get rid of.
Great. And we're broadcasting too. Okay, great. So just type anything that you want to ask into the chat. And I can just get started. Sounds good? Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and first send you all to a little website that I would like you to look at. Can you all go to this website here? And the website address is bit.ly/BJC Google Demo. And let me know when everybody is there. All right, I think we got disconnected, or I'm not sure. It's hard to talk without knowing if there's anybody listening. So let's try to get signed in again, and then we can get started again. All right, is anybody able to enter into the group chat? Oh, there's Jennifer just joining us. Jennifer, can you hear me?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to try this one? I think I might have it now. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties.
No problem. Should be expected.
Into
But
mirror.
I'm not hearing him anymore. Let's see, laptop. Can you speak? Can you hear us?
I can hear you now, Tiffany.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm going to type that into the chat. I can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Can you
I think I might have it now.
Can you see the group chat?
Oh my God.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties.
Problem.
But it feels like you're on a player. That's why I was trying to switch.
Should be okay. I can see Pauline's questions. Thanks,
Into
Pauline.
I'm not hearing him anymore. Let's see, laptop.
So he was so
Can you speak? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm also typing that into the chat. I can hear you. But I don't know if you can hear me. Now you're muted.
Can talk on that one?
Can you hear us now, Eric?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
From this one.
Yeah, he can hear us now, though.
Okay.
I can hear you all.
I mean, we'll just play this up here, and
But there's a delay between that and this.
I don't know what we're going to do because
Okay.
that's doing something weird when we put it up here. Have you got it solved? Or?
I think so.
Okay, put it back. Don't care. Want us to get started because we only have an hour and we already ate 17 minutes of it.
Sorry.
It's not your fault. It's just not working.
Are you good?
I'm all ready, and I can
Now I can't hear anything.
speed it up.
I don't know which of these buttons is actually.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you. How about, can you hear me?
Testing.
It's picking it up, but we can't hear it back anywhere else.
Right.
Jennifer, are you able to see the group chat?
We're on laptop.
Sorry, Eric.
No worries.
Now we can hear them. It's whenever we try to play the sound from this computer.
Yeah, for some reason when we plug you into the system in the room, we can't hear you anymore.
Okay,
I see.
try this again. Tell him to keep talking.
But it's on the computer.
Can you please keep talking, Eric?
I'm just gonna keep talking. I'm gonna grab a dictionary here. Here, I found a book. It's iOS Programming Fundamentals. I'm just gonna read out of that book. Setting up an outlet to work correctly involves several things.
He's not
still
making you hear it.
talking.
Yeah.
Guarantee that at some point in the future you will fail to get this right and your outlet won't work properly. Don't be offended and don't be afraid. Be prepared. This happens to everyone. Can you hear me still?
As soon as we plug in the audio, that's what's messing up.
That's right. We can just
Wait
hear
a
it from the
minute.
computer.
It's the wrong cable.
I want you to know that I'm still talking. I'm not going to stop talking.
Thank you.
I'm going to just keep going.
Ah!
We got it.
Is that a good thing?
Yep, we're good.
Woohoo! So, Jennifer, can you see the group chat?
The group chat?
Are you like in the Hangout to see the group chat, or are you looking at the...
I'm looking at the Hangout and I see Google Apps demo.
And then in the Hangout, there's like a toolbar on the left.
Uh-huh.
Can you click on the little chat icon?
Yep, hang on a second.
And then you could type in questions.
Yes.
There's also a little Q&A thing. You could type questions into the Q&A app.
Okay.
If anybody in the room has a question.
So y'all can sign in if you want, but please mute your mics until you have a question.
That sounds right. And I think it's just Tiffany and Jennifer can be in the Hangout, and other people can type into the Q&A who are viewing.
Cool.
Okay, so let me jump in and get started. The first thing I was asking everyone to do is to go to this website, which is bit.ly/BJC Google Demo. And that is a page that has a bunch of links to resources that I think that other teachers might find helpful. The first resources here are the programming environments that work really well in the cloud and can be facilitated using Google Docs. And the next batch of resources are tutorials and additional resources to expand your use of Google Docs. So these are my little agenda. My goal today is to just tell you a little bit about how I administered the create performance task in my classroom last year. And I'll tell you about things that I'm planning on changing next year. And then I want to run through an actual tutorial of using a tool called Doctopus, which is a tool for automating the sharing of documents in Google Documents. So let me back up for a second. I just want to introduce myself. So my name is Eric Alata, and I'm a computer science teacher, a high school computer science teacher at the Academy for Software Engineering in New York City. We're a new school, and we're trying to develop computer science for a general population of kids, and we are one of the pilot schools for the CS Principles course. So in order to administer the CS Principles course, there's a lot of writing that needs to happen and a lot of facilitation that needs to happen. One of the things that the CS Principles course has is something called the Create Performance task. And I wanted to just run through how I administered the Create Performance task. The Create Performance task is a programming task that students complete both individually and collaboratively. They do a significant write-up for both the individual and collaborative programs, and they write a reflection on how they collaborated, what the collaborative process was like for them. The teacher is not allowed to help during the time that they're administering the performance task. So that can be 3 to 4 weeks of class time that you're not supposed to be teaching. That is a lot of time, and I thought, how am I going to do that so that my students are still successful? So here are some of the tools that I put in place using Google Apps and Google Apps automations. Post a little bit about my students. It's just a general population of New York City public school students. No one's that on grade level. They're all they all come from pretty weak middle schools. Most of my students are male because of the way that New York City selects its students. It's a kind of they have a choice, and because we're a computing focused high school, not a lot of young women choose our school. When I administered the task this year, it took 13 class periods. It was every class period in the month of March, and because that was how long they needed when I laid it all out. And I chose to administer the whole thing in class so that if a student didn't have a computer, they would still have structured in-class time to complete the task. All right, so here's what I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to focus in on one of these areas later on in the talk. I begin the task by choosing the partners for the students based on a pre-survey. I created a scaffolded document where they were going to put all of their work, and then I automated the sharing of that document with them, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I created a calendar of daily deliverables, and I put that into several places on our class website, in the shared document, and in more than one place on the class website. Every day, students completed journal entries using Google Forms, and I am going to change how I do that this next year, so I'll tell you about that. And students use the Google document to submit the shared URL for their SNAP programs. We do a group brainstorm when we're going through the whole project at the very beginning to come up with what the ideas are going to be that they're going to build, and everything is housed in a Google site. Google Sites is just where I put everything. It's that single point that single place that everybody goes to find out what they need. All right, so the things that are specific to Google Apps scripts and Google Apps. Actually, I wanted to back up for a second just to make sure. Sometimes people don't know everything that Google Docs can do. Most people are familiar with the Google Docs is the kind of Microsoft Office for the cloud. There are documents that can be edited collaboratively. There are spreadsheets. There are presentations. What less people know about is that you can also write helper programs to automate anything that you would do with a Google document. So if I can take a document and then share that document with you, or if I can make a document and then make a copy of that document and then share it with you, if I can do that manually, then I can also automate that by writing a helper program. So there's a whole community of people that are writing these little helper programs that automate a ton of tasks that you would do with Google Documents. Not only sharing, but we're also going to be looking at, if we have time, we're going to be looking at how to automatically grade a document using a rubric web app. Everything that I do is hosted on a Google site. That's just that single place that all students go. I use Google Forms for pretty much everything, from collecting information to creating warm-ups and full assignments. They are extremely powerful. Google Forms put information into a spreadsheet, and those spreadsheets can be embedded in the site. So I often will embed the spreadsheet if I want students to be able to access all of the information that the class submitted. For example, if you submit feedback for another student via a form, you can access that feedback on the back-end spreadsheet that I've embedded on the website. We'll look at that a little bit. Finally, I can automate feedback that's sent to students and copied to parents and advisors by simply writing a sentence into a spreadsheet. I can take that little sentence of feedback and embed it in a templated email. So it looks like I've written a full email, but I've only written one sentence and formatted that for the whole class. I can look at that a little bit too today. So here's a Google form that we use to create the initial partners for the create task. This is just a form that got some student feedback, and I picked the partners for them. This is what my classroom looks like. It's a computer lab, and these are all the partners seated next to each other. What I like to do is, on my Google site, is embed things like spreadsheets, documents, and slideshows. And I prefer this to natively editing the site. I think that if you embed things, so in this case, this is a Google presentation that's embedded in a site, you have a lot more flexibility, and that thing is not orphaned in the website. You can then download it or share it, and you still have the entity in itself. So in this case, you're looking at a slideshow that has the daily deliverables for each day of the task. So in order to update my homepage, all I had to do was take the slide from the first slide of the deck and slide it to the back of the deck. So I would just slide the slide back, and then on the next day, it looks like the whole website has been updated. But all I had to do was manipulate the slideshow. And then day 5, and I add little countdowns and things like that. When you're using a Google form, to collect things like student feedback, you can actually pre-fill that form with text by clicking a button that says Get Pre-Filled URL. If you ever want students to leave good feedback for one another, it's important to have these sentence starters. This is something I learned from my English department, and English teachers are the #1 person I would go to get strategies to administer this task, because it's actually more like an English project than it is a computer science project. So by pre-filling the form, a student goes to this form and sees text already written in there, and then they just complete the sentence. This is for leaving feedback for another student. Then when the students want to access the feedback that's been left to them, they'll see this. This is a spreadsheet that's embedded on a website using list view. So when you say insert spreadsheet, it gives you an option, and you say list view. In list view, you can click on this heading, and it becomes a drop-down menu. So students can easily sort by their name and get all the feedback that was left for them. I also think it's important to make feedback public, because it holds students accountable for high-quality feedback. Every day of the task, I had them write a little bit in this form called the individual reflection journal. Now, this is just the 5 prompts from the create performance task. There are 5 prompts that they have to respond to in their reflection essay. They lent themselves really well to a daily journal entry. So if you write 1 or 2 sentences every day about each of these prompts, it becomes easy to compile them at the end to write your essay. This year I did it having the students write it in a Google form and then posting it, embedding the spreadsheet in the same way as the feedback spreadsheet. I'm not going to do it in the same way next year. I'm going to actually make this a document. I think the actual copying of what they had written down was too tedious. How are we doing so far? Are there any questions, and are people following along?
Can you hear me? Can you say something? Okay.
Maybe. But if I go up here, I think you can.
Okay.
Eric, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I can repeat a question if we get one.
That's great. Okay, then just stop me, and I'll keep talking until you stop me.
Well, we have a couple of questions right now. Just hang on.
Okay.
One where he had text already there. How did he get that text already populated?
The question is, in the form where you already had text in the answer box, how did you populate that text?
When you're in a form, here we're just going to go to my Google Drive, and we're going to create a form. So I'm going to go here. I've just created a form, so this is a new form. And there's an option in there it is, in the responses menu. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, that's all you do. So when you say get pre-filled URL, it'll actually have you submit a form, and once you submit it, it gives you a link. So if you send students to this link, it will have answers pre-filled in it. So it's all encoded in the URL.
That's cool.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'll explain it if it doesn't. So we'll just let him. You can keep going, Eric.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And again, I'm going to change how I do the journal entries. I think it would be better to just share them on a document. This is the calendar of daily deliverables. Every day I broke down what do they have to accomplish today in order to complete the whole task by the end of the administration. So for each day, there's links, and these links are either links to forms or they are links to parts of their master document. When I made the master document, I was struggling with trying to get students to use a templated document in an effective way. Students never write where I want them to write. If I say delete this and add text here, they never do that. So what I came up with was take a document, make the background of the document a different color, and then use tables with white backgrounds. You can turn a document into something that looks like a web form, and students will always write in the table. And their documents will be much more organized. It's good for them and it's good for you. So don't think about your Google Documents as things that are necessarily going to be printed out. It's a different medium, and you can make them work for you in different ways. So finally, the tools that we're really, the things we're really accomplishing are holding peers accountable to each other, having high expectations, but also tight structures so students can meet those expectations, and then making everything transparent by publicly exposing things like feedback. And I even have a board that keeps track of where each partner is in case a group falls behind. I think making everything public just holds everybody accountable, and they work to higher levels. So now I'd like to go through sharing a document with students. Here's a spreadsheet of a document that's already been shared, and I just wanted to show you what this looks like so you can get a sense of what I'm talking about. On the left here, I have a list of student names. These are for my 3 sections of students. So I have 90 students, and what I want to do is share a document individually with each of those students that they're going to edit. This is opposed to having them, you might say, okay, everybody, create this document and share it with me.
It's lagging.
And that is never going to give you 100%. And then you'll never get students naming the file in exactly the right way. So if you want to have it so it's really organized, you want to be the one that creates that document. But you're not going to manually create 90 documents. You need to automate that. So there's a whole bunch of tools now for automating things like the creation of documents. If you go back to the Google Apps demo website that I made, the first link in this resources section here takes you to a website that has a description of a whole bunch of these automation tools. And New Visions is the organization that I've been able to work closely with as they've been developing these tools over the past 3 years. Each one of these solves a different problem of practice that you'll find in the classroom or in the school setting. We're going to look at Doctopus today. Doctopus is a tool that lets you copy and share documents with students. You actually can share any type of Google resource like a spreadsheet. We often use shared spreadsheets as worksheets in our data unit. And here's the description. There are tutorials. There's lots of things for you guys to walk through if I go too quickly or if you have additional questions. So I'm actually going to run through an example of using Doctopus to share documents right now. I'm going to go quickly through it instead of having you follow along, and then I think at the end, if there's time, you should practice this on your own. It takes a little bit of time to figure out just the first time, but then it's pretty easy. So I'm going to create a new spreadsheet for my Google Drive. And I'm going to go to the add-ons menu. In this, there's now something called add-ons for Google Documents, which is a grown-up version of the apps scripts that we use in the old version. In order to get an add-on, you click Get Add-ons, and you're going to look for the add-on that's called Doctopus, and it has that icon of the octopus. All you have to do is click on it, and you'll say Add, and we'll add it, and it'll show up in this menu. I'm going to go over to Launch Doctopus, and it will open up a pane on the right-hand side that will be my working area to set up this run of Doctopus.
We should be in Chrome for all of this. You have to.
Okay. Are there any questions at this point?
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to keep going, running through it.
If you hang on, Eric, I think a couple of people are just getting Chrome on their computers, but we do want to let Eric go through this, and I'll spend time actually with all of you to do it yourselves too. So go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, that sounds good. It does give you a description and tells you exactly what to do, but I think it would be helpful just to watch somebody run through it one time. It's going to ask me to select a roster. So after you create a roster for your class, you can use that again and again. So this step you only have to do once. There are different ways of creating a roster. You might have folders that have been created by your school. It depends on whether or not your school has a Google Apps for Education domain. If your school doesn't, you might advocate for getting one. It makes it really easy to use these tools and to automate a lot of the processes that you might want to use Google Docs for. Today we're going to build a new roster, and we're going to do it by just typing emails into this sheet. It's going to ask me what method I want to use to build the roster, and I'm just going to say on this sheet. There are other ways to import names if you already have Google Apps domain and you already have folders created for your students. So it says on this sheet, and I'm going to click Create this roster, and it'll let me type in names. So it's populated the spreadsheet with 3 columns, and we're going to enter some names in right now. So Tiffany, I'm going to use you. So, Tiffany Barnes, and it's tiffany.barnes@gmail?
Correct.
Okay. We're just going to use it as with one student in our class for today. Click refresh, and you're ready to name your roster. So I'll call this my NC Google demo. There's an option here to create folders. If you create folders, Doctopus will create a folder structure for you in your Google Drive, and it will share a folder for each of your students that you can use again and again. I highly recommend having these folders created if they're not already created by your administration. It allows you to put documents in a place that students will always know where to go to find them. Really helpful for student organization. It also gives you some folders with pre-assigned sharing permissions, like an edit folder where everybody in the class can edit, or a viewing folder where everybody in the class can view. It lets you just, when you create a document inside of a folder, it inherits those permissions and makes it really easy for you to organize what you're sharing with your class. I'm going to save and continue without creating folders for today. So now I have this roster called NC Google Demo, and I could use that again and again if I wanted to create documents for this class tomorrow or for the next day. There's a lot of different ways that you can share documents using Doctopus, depending on what type of assignment you're running. Individual all the same means every single student gets one copy that they edit individually. Individual differentiated means you could have more than one document that you are using maybe with different levels of scaffolding. I'll definitely be using this next year for this task, the create performance task, because I put in a lot of structure that not every student needed. I put in like the maximum amount of structure and gave it to all students, but with this new option of differentiation, you can create different versions of that assignment so that students are only getting what they need. Project groups is so you can have multiple people edit a single document. This is what you're going to use for the collaborate portion of the performance task, where you want to have a pair of students editing the same document. If you want to have the whole class view or edit a single document, you can share it using the whole class option. So today I'm just going to select individual all the same and share a document with Tiffany that she's going to edit solely. There's different levels of control that you can set for this. I'm going to take out these co-teachers for quickly. Oh, they don't let you do that. Never mind. So I'm going to say that the whole class cannot access the document, that the student can edit the document, that this roster does not include folders. If it does have folders, then you want to check this box, and then there will be another column that says which folders these documents should go to. And this thing about co-teachers is for the grading of this document that we can look at if we have time. So I'm going to save and continue. All right, the next two questions are going to be about the document that you want to share. So I have a document that is called the Create Performance Task Master. It's the scaffolded document with the tables that students are going to do all their writing in for the Create Performance Task. So let's go find that document. First, we're going to be asked, where does that document live? What folder is it in? You're going to get a little window into your Google Drive and navigate until you find that folder. So I need to, just give me a second, I'll navigate there. We'll pull out the, and we'll identify the document. I always mess up this step. When you get to the folder that you actually want, you don't click on it, you have to check the box. So there I've found the folder that I have my document in, and it'll give me a drop-down list of all of the documents inside of that folder. And then you have to choose the one that you want to share and distribute. This is where file names become really helpful. Like, be really descriptive with your file name so that you can find things later, especially when you have this many documents. So I'm looking for my scaffolded Performance Task Master. That's the document that I copy and distribute to students. And I'm going to save and continue. All right, this is the really powerful part of this whole platform. Now that you have these columns with student first names, last names, emails, and perhaps additional columns that you could add yourself, each of those columns becomes a variable that you can use to name the document and also to write an email to the student. So if I say $ last name, first name, that will get shared, that will get populated with Tiffany Barnes when we run the share. And it would happen for every student in your roster. So we can have a file naming convention that we specify that uses information from our spreadsheet. So I'm going to say this is called a Create Performance Task. Now, if you look up at the top here, we have to create a folder. Because if we are creating 90 documents, they need a place to live. If we have 3 sections of a class and there are 30 students in each class, That's a lot of documents. So you either need to specify a location that already exists, a folder in your Google Drive, or you can create one now. So I'm just going to click Create It Now. There's now a folder inside my Google Drive called NC Google Demo, Doctopus Assignment 8614. I do want to notify my students right away because I want to show you how we can send an email. So I can use those variables also in this email, and I'll say, hi student first name. Okay. Please complete this assignment. So this gives us a way to personalize emails to students. And we can do this again and again. We can access the send emails function after we've run this so that we can send emails. We could add a column that has feedback in that column, so we can be sending students feedback, and then we can put that into a templated email. So it looks like we've written a student a full email, but we've only just written one sentence of feedback. I'm going to click Save and Continue. We're given one chance to preview before we pull the trigger.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
The assignment folder, is that a general folder for everything?
The assignments folder, is that a general folder for everything, for all of the assignments in the class?
No. This is a folder that I was just talking about. So I've gone back a step, and we're going to look at that one more time. This folder here is only for this run of Doctopus for this assignment.
Okay.
Let me show you what that looks like. So here's a folder with student documents in my Google Drive. These students have been shared on this document, but they have been shared on a single document. So there's 90 documents now in this folder, and I wouldn't want to have any other assignments in this particular folder. It would be too many. So let's go back, save and continue. We get one more chance to preview before we pull the trigger and share and distribute those documents. All right, it looks good. One more thing, you can actually use HTML in your email. So if you wanted to give students a link that they can click on in their email, you can do that by just using an A tag when you're typing the email to the students. That's a very convenient way to give students resources that they can get to very easily, having clickable links in their emails. So I clicked Run, Copy, and Share, and we're just going to watch it create this document and send it to Tiffany. So this gives you a sense of just about how much time it takes. Because it takes about 8 seconds per share, you want to make sure you do this the night before. This is not a morning of thing. It's just not fast enough. You want to make sure that everything worked. If you have a long run also, it will time out, and you'll need to manually tell it to keep going. So they recommend only having 30 students per spreadsheet, but I just don't like having a different spreadsheet for each section of my classes. I prefer to have if I have one document that I'm sharing, then I just want them all in one spreadsheet. So I will rerun it for a long run. I prefer that convenience to having multiple spreadsheets for the same assignment, if that makes sense. Before I go, I know that I'm running out of time, but I think that you should see how you can attach a grading rubric to a document and then use a web app to automate the grading of that document. After we've run, there's these couple options here at the end. We can assess the students by attaching a rubric. So we go up here to attach rubric, and it's going to ask me what rubric I want to select. I'm just going to select a rubric that I've already made, and you'll see how easy it is to create them. It's just a spreadsheet that's formatted like a rubric. And I'll scroll down in a second, and you can see what it looks like. So this is a rubric. It just has to have, it's a spreadsheet with numbers on the top row, headings on the left column, and then descriptions in the middle. By attaching this rubric to this assignment, when we go to look at the student assignment, we can also enter grades into this rubric, which will get emailed to the student and populate our spreadsheet. Okay, so this is presto. You're now able to use rubric with the student drive resource linked from this form. So here's the link to the document that we've shared, and we're going to open that document so you can take a look at it. This is the create performance task document that I created for my students. I haven't showed this to you yet, so I should just scroll down so you can see what it looks like. This is just the College Board description. You know, I added the first 2 paragraphs, then pasted in the College Board stuff. Then I added that calendar with the daily deliverables that I was talking about. Each of these links either goes to a form or part of the website or to something in this document. So you can see, like this link here to the collaborative summary prompts takes them to a heading in their own document. And these are just the College Board prompts with tables, so it's breaking up into a series of prompts. So now the student has done all their writing, and they're ready for us to give them feedback. So you can see up here in the top right-hand corner of my window, at the end of my address bar, there's a little Chrome extension icon. By clicking on that icon, in order to install that, you just need to follow the instructions that on the rubric window that popped up a second ago. By clicking on that icon, we get a web app version of the rubric that we created. And we can grade by entering numbers, and it will highlight the different parts of the document. We can also add feedback in a comment bar. When I click submit and paste, 3 things are going to happen. 1, the student is going to get an email with that rubric that we just created. 2, that rubric is going to get pasted into the document itself. 3, those numbers are going to populate the spreadsheet that we used to share the document originally. Let me show you each of those things. So I click submit and paste. It takes a second, but then it gives us a link to open up the next document in our spreadsheet. If you click next, it would just go down to the next document in that spreadsheet. If I scroll down to the very bottom of this document, you'll see that that rubric has been pasted into the document. So students have their feedback right there. They've also received an email with my comments and the rubric in their email. And if we go back to the spreadsheet, you'll see that those numbers have populated new columns in the spreadsheet. We can then average them. We can also get there's a built-in function They will either average it if you've graded it multiple times, or it will take the most recent grading. So students have an opportunity to revise and regrade. Well, that's the end of the demo. That's all the time I have, too. There's lots of other stuff I'd love to show, but please send me any questions that you have, and good luck trying it out. Are there any questions before I go?
Eric, I noticed there are several documents in the New Visions. There are several things in the New Visions cloud. Are there some of the other applications that you particularly recommend that we look into?
Did you hear that, Eric?
I did. Yeah, I was just thinking about it. They are all so powerful. So here we're looking at that now. Doctopus is the one that I use the most. I use Autocrat, which Autocrat is like a document merge tool, so you can merge fields from your spreadsheet into your document. I use that for my lesson plan generator. So I generate my lesson plans from a spreadsheet. Form Mule is really powerful for having a form. So like students will submit into a form, and then it will automatically generate an email based on what's in that spreadsheet. I use Form Ranger for when students submit daily assignments, and I want to automatically update a form so that it has the assignment name in it. Form Ranger will automatically populate options in a Google form from a spreadsheet. Those are the ones. Form Mule and Autocrat are the two others that I use the most often.
Thank you very much.
Did anybody else have a question? Eric, we really appreciate it. I was even able to make a roster for this group of people and copy your create task while you were doing that. So we're going to do some more with it. We're really excited.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. It was a pleasure to get to present for you today.
And I'm so sorry that we were so terrible getting started. But I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.